When you begin a paper, you might want to start by creating the title page first. Creating title pages in APA format can be done manually, but it makes it much easier if you download Riverpoint Writer from the university's library website at the Center for Writing Excellence. And using this tool automatically formats the title page for you using the required APA format. So the first thing I've done is I've opened up a blank Word document and I've already downloaded Riverpoint Writer. So what I want to do is go ahead and launch that program. When you launch Riverpoint Writer, it opens up a dialog box. Now you can add the title page after you've already created a paper or at the beginning. In this case, I'm going to say create a paper because this is a brand new paper. I want to click this paper requires an abstract because we are going to require an abstract, although we are going to call it an executive summary, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. So let's go ahead and create our title page. So all you have to do is input the required information. So I'll go ahead and type that information in. You want to make sure that you've checked running head, so that will automatically insert the running head into your papers. And make sure that you enter in your name and the faculty name as well. And when you click OK, you have a title page that is created. Notice in the header you have the running head along with the page numbers. The title page is formatted according to the university's APA requirement. And then you have a section here for an abstract. Now we are actually not going to call this an abstract. We are going to call this an executive summary. Now what is an executive summary, you might ask? It is exactly as stated. It is a summary used by executives where they could read this brief summarization of the entire paper, and that would save them from having to read the entire paper, and they can get a good idea of what is contained in the body of the paper. The key elements of an executive summary is to state the purpose of the paper or what it's about. You want to state the problem that is being discussed or the issue that is being discussed, and then the solutions or recommendations, and that's all. An executive summary is usually about 100 to 150 words. It can be 1 or 2 paragraphs. It should never really be more than about 250 words. And again, it is just a very brief summarization of the entire contents of the paper. The executive summary is something you would write at the very, very end of the paper, because until you write the paper, you wouldn't be able to summarize it. On the third page here, because we entered the title of the paper, Riverpoint has started us off with a title, and you are ready to begin writing your paper. When using Word to write in academic style using APA 6, it really helps if you set up the Word template to follow some of the rules of APA. One of the most valuable tasks that you can perform is to open up the Word document and set up your paragraph structure. And you can do that by simply clicking on this arrow here in the ribbon for paragraph. And when you click on that, it will bring up a dialog box. One thing that you want to set up here is the indentation. In APA 6, you want the first line of each new paragraph to be indented 1/2 inch. So this is where you can set that up. So we've said here, indent the first line of each paragraph 1/2 inch. Then as far as spacing goes here, we want consistent spacing. So for spacing, make sure before and after are both set to 0, and for line spacing, set it to double. Now all lines will be double spaced unless you redefine it elsewhere in your document. Very importantly, you want to check off here, don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. This confuses many students because by default, Word adds an extra space between paragraphs. You don't want to do that in APA, so make sure that you set that by checking this box here, and it won't add the space. So now you have set the first line to be indented. You are double spacing your document. You're not adding a space, and you want to go ahead and click Set as Default. Word will then ask you, do you want to set this default for this document or for all documents based on the normal template? What this means is whenever you go back into Word or start a brand new document, this will be your standard format. I recommend that you select all documents so you don't have to worry about it when you go back in. And now you'll see here I have the first line indented. Everything is double spaced. There is no extra line between paragraphs. When you finish one paragraph, the next paragraph is simply double spaced and indented. And the indent simply tells the reader this is a new paragraph. And that is pretty much how you can set up your Word document to follow these spacing requirements. Another thing that you might want to do also is set the default font to Times New Roman 12 point. By default, Word uses a font called Calibri, but we don't want that. So if you select this arrow here under Font, you can select the font here called Times New Roman. You want it to be regular. You want it 12 point, not 11. And then again, you want to set this as a default for all documents. And now whenever you go back into Word, your normal style for font is going to be Times New Roman 12 point. So we've done two things here. By setting the paragraph, we've set the spacing, we've set the indentation, and then by defining the font, we now will always have Times New Roman 12 point. A very important writing strategy is how you organize the information for the reader. In academic writing and also in business writing, the use of headings is a great tool to help organize your paper. In APA, we want to use different levels of headings, and each heading level follows a unique construct. So let's go ahead and set up Word so we can have a button on our ribbon that will help us to automatically format the given level of heading. So here, let's say we have a Level 1 heading. We want Windows 8 and tablets to be our Level 1 heading. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to follow the construct of a Level 1 heading, which is to center it. So I will hit the center button here on the ribbon. And also it needs to be bold. So I will bold it. This is exactly how I want my Level 1 heading to be. And also notice that Level 1 headings use each word is capitalized. So once you have the Level 1 heading set the way you want it, simply point to Heading 1 on the ribbon in the Styles area and right-click. There is a selection here, Update Heading 1 to match selection. When I click on that, now my button here, whenever I go elsewhere and set up another heading that I want to be Level 1, for example, let's say I wanted pricing considerations to be Level 1, when I click that button, it does it for me automatically. But let's say I want pricing considerations actually to be a Level 2 heading. Well, a Level 2 heading is left justified, bold, initial caps. So I'm going to set that up, go over to Level 2, and I'm going to update the heading. Now my Heading 2 button is set up for future headings. So there is one other thing that you might want to do here. I've set this up, but this is only for this paper. If I want to set that up permanently, I could go back to, for example, Heading 1. I can right-click on it and click Modify. When I click Modify, you will notice that, okay, it says bold, centered, which is exactly what we want, but it is only for this document. If we want to set this up so our Level 1 headings are always used in all documents, I would just click here. When I click OK, now my Heading 1 will always be the same when I open up a new document. I want to do the same thing for Heading 2 for my Level 2 heading. I want to say for new documents. Now you can leave the name Heading 1, Heading 2, or if you wanted to, you could certainly just change it to Level 2. Click OK, and I've changed the name. If you want to set up a third level of heading, you would follow just the same procedure. Set it up the way you want, right-click, and update the heading. So that's how you set up headings. So if I typed in something here, if I wanted this to be a Level 1, I would select it and click on the button. But remember, it won't hold the initial cap, so you have to remember to keep the initial cap. To set the initial cap, if I want this to be Level 2, I simply click on the Level 2 button. And that's all there is really to setting up your version of Word to follow the APA heading rules. Once you have set up your headings in Word, one of the nice features of Word is that it will use those headings to create your table of contents for you. So when you are ready to create the table of contents, decide where you want the table of contents to appear. In this paper, I have my title page, followed by the executive summary, and then the body of the paper. I want the table of contents to appear after the executive summary, but before the actual body of the paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the cursor at the end of the executive summary, and I'm going to click on Insert. Then click on Page Break. That will give me a brand new page. And from there I can generate the table of contents. You will find the function for table of contents under the References tab in Word. So click on References, Table of Contents, and then you can select the built-in table of contents that you want. Here I'm going to select Automatic Table 2 because it will put in a title for table of contents, and then it will put in each heading with a tab delimiter followed by a page number. When I click on that, notice that my table of contents is now automatically inserted. Each of the entries in the table of contents corresponds directly to a heading level. E-ink and LCD screen technology was a level 1 heading. Level 2 headings are slightly indented, so application to education, advantages and disadvantages, followed by my summary and references, which were also level 1 headings. That's all there is to creating a table of contents. At any time, if you create a table of contents and you want to update it, when you double click in the table of contents, you will see here an option to update the table. You have two options. You can update the page numbers only, or you can update the entire table. Just click OK, and your table of contents will be regenerated for you. So to summarize, the most important part of table of contents is that you have to make sure that you have your headings defined specifically as headings. Here you will see I have a level 1 heading. Here I have a level 2 heading, and so forth and so on. The general rule for a table of contents is that any paper that is 5 pages or more of content requires a table of contents. Read the syllabus clearly in our course, because one of the assignments does require a table of contents, so you'll want to make sure that you use this Word functionality to create that table for you.